Hi, my name is Stefan Hielheim from DeepFrames, and in this video I will show you how to create a product lighting for this IKEA Alex so it looks similar to this result. So in 3ds Max I will reset my scene here and I will import the model first. It's an FBX model, and I will put a link to the model in the description so you can also use it. So the model has no real materials, and I will assign a new V-Ray material to everything by selecting all objects and clicking on this gray sphere here in the V-Ray toolbar. So I will get asked if I want to change my renderer to V-Ray, and I will click yes. So I have a gray material at the moment, and then I will adjust the color to be a bit more white, around maybe 240 value here of brightness, and I will adjust some reflection with a glossiness maybe of 0.7, I think should work. And then I will create a ground plane below, and maybe we'll give the feet another black material, so we have at least two materials here. Set the reflection to white and glossiness to 8, and the ground will also get a new material. This will be relatively whitish, so the white value also around 240. So now I will create a new camera, maybe in the top view by clicking on cameras here and on physical camera, clicking and dragging the camera, and then I will look through the camera, going a bit upwards and setting the angle to something like this, so the lines of the object are a bit more dynamical. So I will just the ground plane, and then now if I'm looking from the top view, I have my IKEA Alex in the middle and the camera here. And so about lighting, I have created this document. So there's the camera looking at the IKEA Alex, and in a studio setup you can start with 3 lights. So a key light will be the first light, the brightest light to light this side. A fill light will be a darker light, but this side here is a bit brighter. And then the rim light will come from the opposite direction of the camera and lighting the top side. So in 3ds Max, first creating the key light by clicking on V-Ray plane light. So that's a bit similar to a studio softbox, and clicking and dragging maybe around 70 centimeter maybe. And then rotating it so it's facing this side, and I will deactivate exposure control, so that's in environment, and then exposure control I will set it to no exposure control, because otherwise it's hard to change the background color later. And now I have a multiplier of 30, so I will switch to my camera and start the V-Ray IPR rendering. So it looks like this at the moment, so it's too bright, obviously, so I can change the multiplier of the V-Ray light. I will name it key light, and I will set the multiplier maybe to 8 or 4. 4 is maybe okay, 4.5. So it's not entirely white, but it's close to white. To change the background color of the whole scene, we can go to rendering environment again and change the background color here to white. And as you can see, the whole environment is now also lit, but to have a bit more control. So the environment color is affecting our scene, which is not what we want, to have full control over the lighting. So we can go to rendering, render setup, and then in the render dialog, here in the V-Ray tab, under environment, you have to check all these 4 checkboxes and set all these 4 colors to black. So this, and this should be black, and these 4 checkboxes checked. And as you can see now, the red spill or lighting of the background color is disappeared. So I can now change the background color to white again, and the ground plane can be receiving shadows only. So you can click here in the V-Ray toolbar by selecting the ground plane and then clicking on Make V-Ray Shadow Catcher through the V-Ray object properties. And that's what this is doing here. So now it's invisible except creating here a shadow. So in the top view, I will now clone my key light. So I will select the key light, edit, clone, create a copy of it, and I will name it fill light. So the fill light, I will go back to my Photoshop. So it's on the opposite side of the key light from this camera axis, and it's usually darker than the key light, maybe around half the brightness. So I will move the fill light here on this other side and rotate it. So, and give it half the brightness, so maybe 2, a brightness of 2. Yeah, that's already nice. And the third light, maybe the main light can be, the key light can be a bit brighter even. 5.2. And the fill light maybe also a bit brighter. So maybe a bit larger. So at the moment I'm getting here a bit of a gradient, but a bit of a more constant color is sometimes nicer. So I will set that to 2 and set it to now in Photoshop the third light is the rim light from this opposite side of the camera, so behind the object, and it's usually a bit higher from any position. So I will select my fill light, go to edit, clone, and name it rim light, and then I will rotate it so it's looking to the camera and maybe placing a bit more upwards and going to local axis here and rotating a bit down. So in my end result, I want this side to be the brightest side and this upper side the second brightest side, and this one here the darkest side. So at the moment the top side is the darkest side, so I will make it a bit brighter. For 3.5. So really very tiny adjustments to the intensity. then setting this light a bit, the fill light a bit darker. I think that's around it. And then you can disable the visibility, so selecting the light and setting it to invisible, and also for the other two lights. And maybe enlarging the ground plane. So I think it's already going in the right direction. So you can disable that and open maybe the frame buffer. And in the render setup, I usually render with the bucket mode, setting the max subdiff maybe to 4, noise threshold to 0.005, and min shading rate maybe to 12, and then rendering again. And then I think it's already looking quite good. Maybe here on the bottom side it could be a bit brighter, and also here could be a bit brighter. But these are minor adjustments. So, but you can add a curve control to the display. To have a bit more, to adjusting the contrast, and so now it's a bit more fine-tuning the positioning of the lights. So going to progressive rendering again. Yeah. Maybe 6. So again, I want this side here to be the brightest, and it should look like white, but not blowing out. So there has to be a difference in the brightness between the white background color, or you could set the background color to not being entirely white, so to a grayer background color, and then making the object white, but there has to be some kind of a contrast. Also, I want to adjust my camera again, so maybe a focal length of 60mm is a bit better. So I think it's already a nice result. And keep in mind that this side should be the brightest, this is the second brightest, and this darkest side. So not every side has the same brightness. Then the form of the cube is more, you can identify the form of the cube more if every side has a different brightness. Maybe in the curve control So the rest is really tiny adjustments. I will render it once more with bucket rendering. And I think it's done. So thanks for listening. I will put a link to the 3D model and also a link to this image in the description. See you in the next video.